With me now is Behnam Ben Taleblu. He is the senior director of the Iran program at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome to the show. Let me start here with looking for some context here around this new threat of any U.S. strike would lead to a regional war. We know one of the considerations or the concerns is the range of Iran's ballistic missiles, certainly of Israel. Give us some context around what we're hearing from the Ayatollah.
Well, great to be with you. No doubt the Islamic Republic of Iran actually has the military muscle to still be able to punch back against U.S. bases in the region, against shipping in the region, and even against further afield targets in the region, such as Israel. And that is because despite being weak, this regime is still lethal. It is still home to the largest ballistic missile arsenal in the Middle East. And both in January 2020 and June 2025, in Trump Term 1 and Trump Term 2, the Islamic Republic did use overt military force, meaning ballistic missiles, against a conventionally superior adversary, meaning here the United States of America. So the latest statement by the Iranian so-called supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, here is quite significant because now he is weighing in after a whole host of political officials and a whole host of religious officials and a whole host of military officials earlier this week threatened that even if the U.S. striked Iran in a limited fashion to defend the red line due to the massive crackdown from state against society, the 36,000 plus crackdown after about 3.5 weeks of Iranian protests, if that red line was defended, that the Islamic Republic would even treat a limited attack as a potentially wider attack, and therefore this recent comment by the country's commander-in-chief is significant.
What we heard from the president last night on Air Force One is that Iran is, quote, seriously talking to the U.S. The Secretary General of Iran's National Security Council posted on social media, I think we can put it up, contrary to the artificial media war atmosphere, the formation of a structure for negotiations is in progress. What's the viability of talks between the U.S. and Iran? Is history the best guide here, considering current variables?
I don't necessarily think history is the best guide here. In fact, you see the Islamic Republic, 47 years old, a regime that has chanted death to America, death to Israel for 47 years, now having senior officials like this bragging about some kind of indirect back-channel negotiations with a country that they have been chanting death to America to for quite some time. So that in itself is unique. But I don't think there is any diplomatic off-ramp to be had here. That's the real question or the challenge for the Trump administration. The red line that President Trump drew once, twice, actually 8 or 9 times if you count, throughout the month of January, had nothing to do with the nuclear issue, had nothing to do with Iran's ballistic missiles. It was entirely about holding the regime accountable for the crackdown against protesters, which led to, again, 36,000 plus dead. And now to seek a nuclear deal or a nuclear off-ramp off of the back of those 36,000 dead, that doesn't jive with who the U.S. is, that doesn't jive with the morals or the ethos or even the necessary strategy of a country like the United States of America. And worse, it might invite more Iranian crackdown of protesters and killing in jails, which we believe is still ongoing.
Okay, so if there is no diplomatic off-ramp, and we know that, as I just said, the Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group is now in the Arabian Sea. Iran announced several days of military drills of their own. I want to read for you this line that I read in my colleague Nick Payton-Walsh's latest write about the options for the president. It just stood out to me. He starts it with, it is a bubblegum foreign policy, one where the quick hit of flavor is the goal rather than chewing a sticky mess for hours. So in that context, what's likely from the U.S.? I mean, we saw what happened in Venezuela. We saw, of course, the scope of the attacks on Iran's nuclear program last year. What do you expect from the U.S.?
Well, this is actually where I do think history is a guide, particularly recent history. I can't comment on bubblegum, but I think this might be interesting with respect to Machiavelli, who talks about public violence as needing to satisfy and stupefy. If you look at President Trump's military operations, there is an ability to satisfy and stupefy, to deter and to awe at the same time. And the trend line through all of the military activity that the Trump administration authorized in Term 1 and in Term 2, that the through line through all of that is short, sharp, and decisive. And the real challenge the Islamic Republic is posing here is that it's trying to undo the image or the option of a limited war. So certainly the Trump administration is going to be looking through options here. And one reason that I think there's been a delay in decision making is to try to figure out how to nest even the use of military force into a larger political win. And President Trump has said previously his end game is to win, but we're struggling to find out right now politically what does winning look like. I have my views as a first-generation Iranian American. There's no way out but through with this regime. You know, the longest suffering victims of this regime are the Iranian people. There are alternatives. The question is, to what degree is President Trump willing to explore those alternatives? And the challenge here for America and American strategy is, to what degree will there be economic pressure, diplomatic pressure, and military force all together to help achieve some of those alternatives? And that lack of clarity, it does keep the adversary guessing. That's true, that's good, but it also keeps allies in the dark. And also, you know, Iranians are a highly nationalistic population, I'll tell you that, but all their eyes are looking abroad right now, trying to figure out what the president is going to do. Will he defend their red line, and will he come to their aid? And the president also said that he's not going to tell some of those Gulf state allies the plan. It wouldn't be any good to tell them what he's planning to do. Behnam Ben Taleblu, thanks so much for the insight.